Hey there, guys. This is Reckles with WTBGold, and y'all have been having a blast with the Will It Sell series. And today we have something special for you where I'm gonna one-up myself again, because someone sent me a message on Twitter saying, hey, what if you did the Will It Sell series but with every single ore in the game? Like spend an hour out at every ore node. Well, there's a problem with that. If you didn't know, you can go to Wowhead and click on Database, Objects, and then you can click on either Herbs or Mining Nodes here. And this is how you find the mining nodes in WoW. Let's close down all these Wowhead ads. Spending an hour at each of these spots would be ridiculous, and I have a sneaking suspicion it goes higher than 200. So, we gotta narrow down our focus, but the cool thing is that we can do that without too much of a problem. So, here we go. We got a little baby spreadsheet for you. And the cool thing is that we can group together a bunch of the farms, like Serenite and Titanium can be grouped together, and voila, we've got one route. And really, what idea are we trying to test here? We're trying to see, does old content ore still sell? It's still 15 different farms though, so I do need to break form a little bit, just letting you know what I did. Rather than spending an hour at each of these 15 farms, I spent 15 minutes at each farm on 8 accounts at once. So essentially, we're getting 15 minutes times 8. We're getting 2 hours of testing for each of these. So we're actually getting 30 hours of results, and we're going to see if that sells. There are 2 problems with this. We're essentially only doing 1 lap of each zone, and the first lap is usually, there's a little bit higher node density, because usually for old content farms, no one's been out there for a little bit. Because I'm multi-boxing this, I spend more time at each node, just like it's a hassle moving everyone around. So I'm less efficient per character, so my results are going to be both inflated and deflated. But this was enough of a problem for me that I actually went out and tested it with my 8 account team. In my 15-minute test, I was on track for 300 cobalt ore, and after spending an hour out there with just 1 account that was able to do it faster but had less density on laps 2, 3, and 4, I still got 300. So everything balances out, at least enough to ignore. For selling everything, I had 2 gatherers on each of 4 different servers. I made a posting tune on each of those 4 servers, and I just put everything into one basic operation, made a new posting operation from the default one in Trade Skill Master, and then I just posted everything up once a day for a week, and after everything was all said and done, some of the like coarse stone and dense stone, that stuff didn't completely sell off, but pretty much all of the ores sold. I made a total of 168,000 gold, and it comes out to between 18,000 and 25,000 per account. But that's not the point. We care about finding out what are the best nodes. So let's get into it. God, that was a long intro. Oh, and one sad thing, while I was editing this, I realized I never clicked start recording when I was doing my farming. So I had to go out and refarm these on the solo account. So that's the footage you're seeing. I'm sorry you don't get to see 8 druids flying around. Just imagine lots of birds. Okay, so copper ore. I was really surprised at how much I got. It was about 500 ore per hour per character. And the only problem was it just, like, everything sold, but it just was so cheap that it didn't really matter. This means that if you are saving up for a Brutosaur and you're like, I'm gonna do copper farming, and I'm gonna do copper farming for 2 hours a day, it would take you 7 years to get it done. For tin, I went out to Hillsbrad Foothills, just flew around the little snowy area. There's an annoying little cave in there that I still don't understand the layout of it, but that's fine. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. Got a couple silver ore, but this was also only 1,000 gold an hour, so 7 years for a Bruto. For iron, I flew around Fairless, and I like Fairless mining because it's so obvious how you farm, where like ore spawns next to cliffy things. The perimeter of the zone is mountains, so you just fly around the perimeter of the zone and you get a whole bunch of ore. You don't even really need to worry about it. But here, we finally got a bunch of silver ore. The biggest seller was the silver ore, and the iron came out to about 5,000 gold per hour. You know, on the high pop server, this may be better than what you get going out and farming Najatar. So yeah, you won't be able to sell as much of this. If you farm 2 hours a day and can sell it all, that's 300k a month and 5 million after a year and a half. So not bad. Mithril was next, and I love this route. You fly around burning steps in a box. We also got some solid stone, and we got some gold ore, which funnily enough, 1 gold ore on some servers sells for less than a gold. I don't know how that works, but it's fine. We only got 2,500 gold per hour here. Not worth it. Thorium, however, is dope. For everything up to this point, we've gotten about 500 of the ore per hour. With thorium, again, we made about 1,000 gold from the ore itself, but we made about 6,000 gold from the arcane crystals, which brings this to 8,000 gold an hour. On some of your servers, this is going to be even more expensive. If you transmute these into arcanite bars, you'll be able to get even more gold out of this. So there's lots of ways to take this farm, which is probably on most of your servers between like a 5 and 12,000 gold per hour farm, and turn it into a 30,000 gold per hour farm. But still, even if you just sell it raw on some of your servers, this is twice as good as Najatar. So get out there. The last farm from vanilla is dark iron ore, and for this one you either go to Blackrock Depths and just run around that first little room, or you can go to Molten Core. I just went to Molten Core with my team and had a blast. After 3 runs, each of my tunes got about 80 ore. If you smelt these down, you'll be able to get more gold out of them, but it'll sell slower. This was about 5,000 gold per hour, but I wouldn't trust my data here. Like, I couldn't clear through the entire instance because I just couldn't get 8 tunes past Baron Geddon without pulling him. And if you tag a boss, then you can't reset the instance. The effort was there, but I don't really trust this number. I'm sure if you have a speed set on your gatherer, you could absolutely crush this on a gold per hour standpoint. I didn't, but it's still better than Osmanite.
Banished from my own homeland.
On to Outland. In Burning Crusade, we have 3 different ore that we care about. We've got Fel Iron, which rare spawns, depending on the zone, into Adamantite, and we've got Adamantite that rare spawns into Corium. I did get a Corium node, but just one. Fel Iron also brought us Motes of Earth and Motes of Fire, which I got enough to make a couple Primal Fire and Primal Earth. Primal Fire, of course, sells for more. Also got some Eternium, Azure Moonstone, Shadow Dranite, Golden Dranite, Noble Topaz, a whole bunch of gems and stuff. Combining the Adamantite and the Fel Iron and the Corium, everything we got, Fel Iron rang in at 15,000 gold per hour, which first off makes us the first farm to break double digits. So, woo! There are very few servers where you can get 15k from just going out and farming current content stuff. Even doing herbs and ore, it can be tough to get 15k an hour right now. Just go fly around Nagrand or Netherstorm and you'll be good.
The very forests of Lordaeron whispered the name.
I'm Paul.
And next, we've got what has become one of my favorite farms since I started doing my mount restocks. Cobalt ore is used for a lot of Wrath of the Lich King stuff, along with the chopper uses a bunch. For this one, we go out to Howling Fjord. I could get about 300 an hour. You get a couple like Eternals, but really this is just a Cobalt farm. And Cobalt came in at 11.3 thousand gold per hour. And one of the really cool things you can do with Cobalt is you can turn it into bars, and people kind of just mentally assume that it takes 2 cobalt to make 1 bar. It doesn't. It just takes 1. And so on a lot of the servers, people are fine paying twice as much for a cobalt bar as the cobalt ore. They think you're not making any profit when really you're doubling your profit. So I could even say that this is a 22,000 gold per hour farm, but I'm not going to, but it might be. The next farm is Wintergrass. We're going out for Serenite. You don't have to have control over Wintergrass in order to farm Serenite. I've got a whole video talking about my Serenite route. I've actually made it smaller and more condensed. I've focused a lot more on just density of Serenite for Wintergrass rather than hitting every single node. And I've cut my lap time in half doing that, and it's really, really helped. So I have kind of an optimized route here. I got 500 Serenite per hour, a whole bunch of titanium, a bunch of Eternals, and this came out to 17,000 gold per hour. In Cataclysm, the numbers kind of went down. Obsidian, you just fly around Deepholm, do a circle around the outside perimeter. You can do it in kind of a horseshoe shape, but this was only 3,000 gold per hour. Obsidian isn't really used for a lot, although I did sell off all of the ore from my testing. For Elementium, I went out to Twilight Highlands. I also spent a little bit of time in Tolbarad just because I've been trying to figure out how the spawn rate works. But even going over time a little bit and getting a rich Pyrium node or two, Elementium was still only 4.5 thousand gold per hour. So on par with current content, but not exceeding it. If you want the most ghost iron ore per hour, what I've found works is turning war mode on and doing complete laps around all of Pandaria. You can focus on the highest density areas, and the lap is long enough that everything will have respawned by the time you come back to it, so you always have that good density. But Valley of the Four Winds is easy. It's the go-to. It's the best ghost iron ore density. If you're focusing on Trillium instead, Kunlai has a few more Trillium node spawns. But we only got 3.7 thousand gold per hour here. So even as optimized as I enjoy being with ghost iron ore farming, this expansion, ghost iron ore, just kind of bottomed out.
Times change.
For Legion, the best way to farm the stuff is still going out and skinning the various crocolisks, either in Asuna or the fell area of Suramar. I just went out to Val'sharah and flew around there. That said, I don't have the rank 3 on everything yet on all of my tunes, so my numbers essentially don't matter. I got 4,000 gold per hour here after everything sold, so I think this could actually be really good if you were min-maxing on one account, but with a multiple account farm, this is pretty bad. Imperium, on the other hand, we got 100 gold per hour. God, I wish there was more you could do with Imperium. It's fun to farm. You have to actually go explore the zone, and because you can't fly out in Argus, it makes gathering more exciting. But whatever, Imperium sucks. Don't farm Imperium. Okay, so what can we say in conclusion? Are there any sweeping statements we can make from this test? Yeah, we can. For most of the ore out there, you'll get between 500 and 600 ore per hour. And in my testing, I got between 600 of each and 1600 of each. There were some ore that didn't quite sell all the way. I only sold about half of my dark iron, which gives me hope for the gold per hour of that farm. We could essentially double it. And something else interesting is the range. People tend to equate any farm they do to a multiple of an hour of mining and herbalism. And what I mean by that is, like, in general, mining and herbalism are the like baseline gold per hour metrics. If mining and herbalism is 10,000 gold per hour on your server, but you could get 6,000 gold per hour doing old raids, you might say to your friend who recommends running old raids, well, why are you doing that? You can just go out and pick Xanthid and Osmanite and you're better off. It's the easiest, no barrier to entry farm, but the price range for your time is pretty consistent. And because of that, 1 hour of mining and herbalism is kind of a price parity metric for how people on your server value their time. Like, I have a low pop server where 1 hour of mining and herbalism gets 15k, and I have a high pop where 1 hour is 4k, but every other farm on the low pop also comes out to about 15k. Every other farm on the high pop also comes out to about 4k. So it's really funny how that happens, and that range is pretty comfortable across every server, between 4,000 and 15,000 for current content farming. And I say all that because we see that here. If we ignore copper and tin, every single farm we talked about today was somewhere around 4,000 to 15,000 gold. Nothing really stood out as, oh my gosh, this is so good gold. You just probably don't want to go out and farm cobalt ore for 12 hours a day because you're not going to sell it all. I think we had a successful test, and we saw that everything does sell. Everything is pretty much worth it except for Imperium, copper, tin, and mithril. And everything's about the same. So go farm where you think it's pretty. If you want to see more of these, make sure to like the video and let me know what you want me to go out and test in the future. So have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck and happy gold making.